Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. This is Ian Nethercutt from the famous Auto Hub Show. This is the first in a new series, Fixed Operations. So we're going to start with a quick video from NADA last year, and this is from a company you may be familiar with called UVI. So let's go.
Inspection system that you can see behind right. Prior to going to UVI, I actually worked in top 150 dealer group out of upstate New York.
Oh, wow. Well, good. That's great.
And now we're here. So I'm ready, Doctor.
Okay, now, by the way, before Ian says anything, I want to introduce you to the new Auto Hub mobile. They're going to give it to us. Ian. Yeah, isn't that something?
Obviously, I have a lot of technology center today. Can you tell us a little bit about this all does?
Recording in progress.
Yeah, it takes about photos when you drive through, but this sits at the front of the service line. And what it does is, as the vehicle points, it takes the photos and it creates a full vehicle inspection report. The service advisor is going to get that, the used car manager, the general manager, everyone can actually be able to get that report. And it's going to give a breakdown of anything that's wrong with the vehicle, from the underbody to any leak, broken, missing parts in the bottom, to the tire. It's going to do tread top, any damage on the sidewalls, as well as rim damage. So you're going to pick up any of those nails in the tire. And then the Atlas light, which is this arch here, can pick up any of that body damage. So scratches, dents, things, anything like that. That's what our system can pick up. You're then going to get in here is our user interface, and you're going to be able to pull that up. So by the time a customer gets to the service advisor's desk, within 3 to 7 seconds, they're going to get a full automatic inspection report. So what's really cool about our UI is we launched this piece that is a summary for the service advisor. So this way they're able to hit those key points as soon as somebody comes up to their desk.
So there's no waiting.
No waiting. Nope.
So then the customer would then have a really good sense of sort of what's going on with their car.
Yeah, no surprises. And it really is bridging that gap in trust. So now that customer is no longer has to go home, wait for a phone call, wait for that car to be wrecked. They're going to be able to do that leak right out the gate. We're going to be able to go over it with the customer and say, hey, look, if you have a leak, and show that, visually show that. And this way they can
So that's a quick piece of that interview. So if you are looking for the full interview, it's on the Auto Hub Show from last NADA. That was 2024. So here we go. This is the new lead-in. And that's it. That was the whole lead-in. So here we go. There is no more lead-in. It's very simple. So welcome to the first in a series Fixed Op Show. We'll be doing this every Friday at 5:30 East. So if you are in Fixed Ops, or you work in Fixed Ops, or you work at a dealership, and you have some value to add, the Auto Hub Show is all about helping dealers one show at a time. So we have a lot of guests today. So I'm going to start with, let's start with Ashley, because she has the wonderful voice I hear today. And the question is, first of all, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about what you do. But also, what do you think dealers, OEMs, and vendors can do in 2025 to enhance fixed ops side of the business this year?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ashley Norton. I brought the cold home from New Orleans. So I've sounded this way for a few days now. But so I am the VP of Marketing at Blink AI. I started here not too long ago, in December of 2024. I've been in automotive for over 10 years, and I am excited to be here. What I think dealers, vendors, anybody can do in 2025 is put the customer first. We develop a lot of solutions that we think are cool, and we think, bells and whistles, but we forget about the customer experience from the front end. And then obviously just embrace AI. This is going to be a big year for artificial intelligence. Period. From service to sales. So.
Thanks for that. So we have Mr. Hunter Swift on. Hunter, tell us a little bit more about what you're doing.
Where's Hunter at?
Huh? Where is he?
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, this is a rarity. So, Ian, thanks. I know it's been a while trying to get me on the show, but my name is Hunter Swift. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Busy Car, and super excited. We're doing some great things in fixed ops. There's a lot of fixed ops specialists and experts on this panel, so I don't need to go into that. But at Busy Car, we do something unique with recalls. It's something that dealerships have exclusivity on, and it doesn't cost the consumer any money, and it's a great retention and profit tool. And so glad to be able to do some automated text outreach to reach out to these people and then bring them in, and then get to integrate with all of these other fellows that are on this chat in regards to schedulers and marketing and other things like that, all working together to try to help the dealership maximize profit and retention and revenue. So
Fantastic. And we have someone from UVI, Robert Hubble. Maybe, Robert, you can tell us a little bit about UVI and what your thoughts are in 2025.
Sure, absolutely. Well, pleasure to meet everyone on the call. Rob Hubble, I'm the VP of Sales. I've been with UVI for 2 years, about 30 years in the business. I think the most important piece with 2025 is how do we streamline the process, build trust, transparency within fixed ops. And I think that's a big piece to really drive additional revenues for 2025. So as you did see the lead in with UVI, we've really automated the vehicle inspection process. So vehicle enters the service drive within 10 to 20 seconds, vehicle scanned, a full report of the vehicle is up. As we like to say, it's a full MRI of the vehicle. So really gives some transparency and trust, and it actually really builds efficiencies within the organization. So happy to speak more of it during the call.
Thanks very much. So we have Michelle Roeder. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what you do and what your thoughts are on 2025 in fixed ops.
My name is Michelle Roeder, and I work for Business. I am account executive, and for us, it's a lot to do with marketing, of course, and basically customer retention, of course, is something that I think every dealer should really focus on, especially in fixed ops, because as we know, if you have customer retention, it goes from sales all the way to fix op to service to body shop, and for us, it's just you want to build trust with your clients.
Fantastic. We have Mr. Russell Hill. So go ahead, Russell, the legend.
Everybody, yeah. My name is Russell Hill. I'm co-founder and managing partner of Fixed Ops Marketing. Gosh, we do so much. Let me start with the pain point we solve. The dealer's website regarding service parts and accessories, they're leaking thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, when almost nationally anyway, 30% of the people that show up are looking for service-related content. And you already know the junk they see when they get there, and you can't really do anything with it. So we have a solution for that, and it's delivering the right content with the right message at the right time with video content regarding each and every specific service that they have. But ultimately, it's about repeat, referral, and retention. And the end result is we can now track we track CP, customer pay. So that's all we do is track CPRO. That's all we're about. And the results are staggering. We got a plethora of products. We just started our 5th year. We got 620 stores, and we're probably going to double that in 2025, because when I say fixed ops marketing, believe it or not, it's like, well, they all have this preconceived notion of what they think it is, and this is not that. We're not a couponing system. We're a lead generation magnet. So with all those people coming to the website, they know how many people came, how long they were there, but they don't know who those people are. Well, it's all about data, right? CDP, it's all about the data. It's unacceptable on the vertical side when all 4 of their profit centers are online, but for whatever reason, they don't tend to think of fixed ops the same way. So we know and serve up the customer's information real time with our interaction. So we provide them name, email, phone number. etc. So we're growing quite fast. Really excited to be a part of this. Ian, thank you very much for the invite.
No
Some of you I know. I'm a big fan of UVI, man. What amazing technology. And also with Hunter and what they're doing. I mean, just amazing stuff. The rest of you, I will probably get to know, but I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we got Tim Woodford. So Tim, tell us a little bit more about you, what you do, and what you think about 2025.
Well, I'm the same. I'm a colleague of Michelle's who just spoke earlier.
Oh, okay.
Here with Claudia, we're all part of this.
Okay.
And I guess, our retention tool is something I find very unique. And as Russell was just talking about, like, how many times have we talked about how many dealerships are very weak in the fixed side? They're paying all their attention to sales, very little attention to their fixed departments. So it's one of the things we try to do is give them the visibility on their client lists, the activity they have, their campaigns, and they have a full visibility on the database of what's active. And one of the things that we discussed, and I'm sure everybody will agree on this call, is we see a lot more, and we're trying to encourage our dealers to get more into that video, and that's why this is the first time we've seen Robert's tool there with the scan. And the engagement you get from that, just customers engaging with it, right? Will be, that's one of the biggest weaknesses we find is there's not a good procedure in the service department. And, dealers are always telling us, the way dealers are, I'm the greatest, but they really need a lot of work. And it's all about plugging those holes. When you're in your fixed department, when I was because I was previously in the auto business, and I used to train my people, if you could save, $10 here and make 100 here. It doesn't sound like much, but with all the transactions you're doing every month, it makes a big difference. If they wake up at the end of the month, all of a sudden they got, the extra gross 20 grand, 30 grand they didn't anticipate. So
Thanks very much. We got Mr. Combs. Tell us more about you, what you're up to, and what do you think about 2025 for fixed ops?
I'm Warren Coombs. I joined the Bituminous team at the beginning of this year. And much like Tim and Michelle, we are trying to be that transparent company for building retention. And, that the old school way of marketing and just blanketing things out there and maybe getting them into the dealership under false pretenses is not the way things are done any longer. And you can't. So it's trying to pull the partners along with us, actually, to better themselves and do a better job of what they already have, what they've already earned, which is that customer base.
Fantastic. Mr. Dave Perry, I bet you've been waiting for a bit, so tell us more about Blink AI. And I hear your voice is a little better.
Well, I'll pick up from Ashley. So, thanks, Ian, for having us on. We're excited to be here.
No worries.
So Blink AI, we really focus on that customer engagement on the fixed ops side of the house. And we try to marry that, and we do marry that with the key KPIs that the dealerships are trying to manage. So we try to create this win-win relationship. So the experience from the user standpoint is really positive. They get in, get out quickly, and they have a great experience there that makes them a lot more willing to come back. Stats are that dealerships lose about half their service customers after the warranty period, and what we want to do is bring those customers back in, being very efficient, and the normal things you do to book an appointment or to check on the availability of your car and things like that. So very simple things, but then that drives that volume of service business into the dealership. So we look at it as our job is to just fill up all the capacity of the dealership and work with them on optimization of that revenue stream. The thing we're most excited about this year is that we continue to grow rapidly in that space, but now rather than waiting for the user to determine when they need a service appointment, we're being very proactive through telematics to go out and tell the user that they have a problem, they need to bring their car in before they even know it. So that's something that we're working on right now. We haven't made the announcement yet, but we will soon about a really exciting new product that this year.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Mr. Claudio, I believe Larry may chime in during the call. If you don't know Larry, he may chime in. He's a sponsor of our main show. But go ahead, Claudio. Here you have some auto experience.
A little bit. I've been doing this since 1990, guys, and I was a Hyundai dealer for many years. And I love all the stick stops speak and talk because it definitely is a weakness in a lot of the dealerships. And Bituminous offers a software called Bumper, and Bumper basically works out of the U.S., Canada, Dubai, and Middle East, and now just kind of entering into the European market as well. It speaks all those languages as well, and all communications can go out in those languages with literally one click. We've got a team of about 60 people at our BDC that take inbound and outbound calls. We've got a full creative team, 15 ladies at the office that really take and handhold the dealer, if you want to call it, while they're onboarding with us. And we've got a system where you can interact with SMS and email and ringless voicemail that doesn't end up in your junk mail, which every dealership tells us in their CRM ends up doing. And because we're using those warm servers and different algorithms, you're getting that message across all the time, and people are clicking through and looking at your rates and looking at your actual coupons and certificates that you're offering. And we know that because you track everything that you're doing as far as behavior. We've got about 250 stores we work with in Canada and the US, and we have just signed some major deals with Stellantis, just Hyundai Canada. We're working on Kia Canada. We've got Toyota and Lexus we just filled last year. So we expect our growth in 25 to really grow. And just listen to a lot of guys on the call here. There's a lot of integrations that we can probably to work together to make that service side of our business especially much better, because we do all the inbound and outbound calls, and everything is scheduled for based on their intervals of service. Because we're connected to all the manufacturers, we know what is due for service and when it's due for service, and we know how to get a customer back into the showroom if they got basically refusal work in there, things that they really sometimes just don't do right. It's been my strength while I had my dealership, and we kind of brought that over with our product. And Bumper really has seen some success in Canada, especially in the last 12 months.
Thanks so much, Claudio. So obviously, we're looking at people keeping cars longer than ever before. With the price of vehicles. And I've even read an article today about the fact that some manufacturers now coming out with budget-conscious vehicles to try and meet that like decontented demand to make things more affordable. And I also saw that Volkswagen's come out with a EV less than 20,000 US. But as we look at the longer span of vehicle ownership throughout the world, but North America wide, how do you think dealers can do a better job driving, parts sales and retention? I mean, obviously with UBI, they can probably identify things that need to be fixed, but how do you think they can identify opportunities with that longer ownership term? Let's start with Hunter. It's been a while. Go ahead, Hunter.
Yeah, people are definitely keeping their vehicles longer, but people are still servicing their vehicles, 2.5 times a year. I think the biggest thing, that we could talk about once they're in the drive, we can talk about, making it more efficient and having a better experience. But I think the challenge for most dealerships is just really trying to get these customers back into the store. Historically, when we were selling a new car, maybe we would not make as much money because we thought, oh, we'll make it up in service. Well, that's not the case. Right now, if you look at the reason why customers aren't coming back to the store, there's just a lot of things that the dealership is struggling. And the number one thing is convenience, in my opinion. It's difficult to rearrange your schedule and, drop off a vehicle and have the vehicle gone all day when I can go to like a Jiffy Lube or, third party oil and get an oil change without even getting out of my car. There's just some things we haven't really embraced in regards to making it convenient, even down to like how we set appointments and things like that. Like for most, a dealership is marketing and saying, hey, you're due for service, or hey, you have an open recall and they're using mail or something. Like it requires the customer to do something. They go online. It's not an easy process. Then it's just, we're not making it easy, and they're looking for anything easier. And I think a couple of things that come to mind that, relate specifically to busy cars, I mentioned was, recalls is something that is a huge problem, affects 27 million vehicles last year. But even in the sense that it's a danger, even with like the Takata airbag, it's like an explosive device. They're still not repairing these issues because it's inconvenient, right? Like my wife, like she's busy. She doesn't have time to do this. They don't always offer a loaner. But other things that dealerships are doing is offering mobile service where they're making it even more convenient and going to where the customer is. So I think as dealers start to think about how do I get these people back and into the drive, and I'm competing against these other things, making it convenient, making it efficient, making it easy for these customers, and I think ultimately will drive more traffic.
Thanks for that. And I think I'm going to go to Robert on this because I know with UVI you get a lot of information on the car when you're in the drive and the customer sees that information. Have you found any uptick as customers come in and their response to that? I mean, what are the dealers saying? What are customers saying?
Yeah, there's a monster uptick because again, you can't replace time. So time and efficiency are the two major parts of UVI. And again, that transparency. When a customer comes in, an average customer may be coming in for an oil change, an inspection. They may not know that their tires are borderline. They may not know that the tires are even expired. Because UVI is like the only source that actually will pull a DOT in seconds. So we know exactly the life of the tire. So as Hunter mentioned, safety. Safety is a big concern. And a lot of those are missed. Most dealers we speak with don't even ever look at the expiration date on a tire. So if you look at safety alone, just a lot of the issues that are not transparent. But again, back to recalls. 1 in 4 cars we see has an open recall. But again, is that a transparent discussion upon checking? So one of the big pieces with UVI is it happens in seconds, as you saw in that video. But again, all this discussion in fixed ops is pre-write-up. So an average customer minimum per RO is about $50 increase, minimum. That's just thinking tires, wheels, and the basics. So again, we really can be more efficient with our time because we can't replace that. And we also do know the cost of a customer to set that appointment and get them in their store. The other efficiency we can get into later is dispatching the vehicle. Could be coming in for a simple inspection or an oil change, but now we find out it may have an oil leak, it may be out of alignment, may have a couple worn tires. So again, transparent approach to really look at the photos, look at the scan, and then dispatch that vehicle accordingly. Also, the customer's there, so that decision can be made at that point. And we also do eliminate the walk around. So again, that 5 or 10 minute walk around for each car is done in seconds now. So again, it's really back to the efficiency, if that makes sense.
So if you have a service department like a lot of dealers today that they don't have enough techs and it's maxed out, that's going to give you more throughput because you can speed up that process, right?
Exactly. So again, it goes back to the time. So again, being more efficient with your time, dispatching the car to the right lift. And also, when we get to the MPVI, before the vehicle's even on a lift, the tech has a copy of the scan on their laptop or computer. So they're going to save time on that inspection. That inspection maybe could be 40 minutes, could be down to 10 minutes now that we've done that for them.
Fantastic. Let's go to Mr. Russell, the man, the myth, the legend. Tell us a little bit more about what you think.
I was preoccupied there for someone catch me up real quick.
What do you think? What do you think with longer term ownership that dealers can do to retain customers when people are owning cars, say 7 to 10 years, whereas before it was like 6?
Well, it's longer than that, actually. The future, 60% of the net comes right from fixed. They're just not getting it. It's unfortunate. But they're starting to. It's one of the biggest talking points, not just because I or we are all on that fixed side, but I started selling cars this is my 40th year in the business. So I started selling cars in 1985, okay? The average salesperson sold 10. What do you think the average is in 2025?
12?
10. With all the technology. But there's a lot to be said about AI, CDP, all the things that are coming into play with clean data that's really going to directly affect. And I think it was Dave, not really sure about 50%. It's actually 7 out of 10 customers by the time of the warranty period they defected. We've made billionaires out of the 16 independents that surround each and every one of our franchise dealers. And you know what? All of us collectively together are trying to put a little stop to that. We're not going to get rid of them, nor do we need to. But it's an education, and this is a small but huge industry as far as all those, because this is not going to happen overnight, but it's been building, and this is going to be a huge focal point this year with what's going to be going on in sales. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, we're going to get ours anyway. But these people are starting to wake up and smell the roses. I'm not naive, and neither are any of you dealing with fixed ops directors, etc. Look, at the store level, they got advisors and technicians and heat cases and OEMs and reports to the GM, and they don't have time. They know this stuff is important, but all of us have come up with things that we can do to help automate and make their life a lot easier. But at the end of the day, it's all about the customer. I got to share an experience. So I got a Genesis, and I went in for, and I still have to go to a Hyundai store where I live at. They don't even have a standalone Genesis franchise, although they're starting to pop up. And here's what it is. I had an appointment, and I was 30 minutes early, and I was still three people deep waiting on my appointment. And the advisor comes up to me and says, "Do you have an appointment?" Are you freaking kidding me? How about hello? Is this a welcome or a welcome back? And my name is, and what's your, and stay, no, none of that kind of stuff. So now this is all critical and important, but how about picture and video MPI? How about UV? It's all about transparency. You got UVI coming across the threshold, right? You got MPI if you're for a rotation and an oil change, and your rotors are scorched and the pads are 2 millimeter. Safety issue. You need a brake job, right? And so, okay, what about the transparency with the advisor side? I mean, it's still all about the relationship. If they like you, they believe you, they trust you, they're going to buy. It's all about the average car is 12, 13 years now old.
Wow.
They're keeping their cars longer. And there's some serious stuff going on right now with the OEMs, which all of you know of. It's all about fixed operations, man. It is all about tires. Who talked about tires? It was Robert.
Yeah.
Tires. One of the biggest defection points next to oil change. You think it would be other things. No, it's tires, okay? Because that's the single largest purchase these people I'm going to make during the warranty period. And if I don't buy them from you, I'm getting it from somewhere else, okay? We all buy our tires for the same price anyway, okay? But if they go to Goodyear or Firestone or someplace like that, you think they're just selling them a set of tires, or you think they're saying, hey, we can do the batteries and the blades and the filters and the fluid exchanges, and that's what they're telling them. We have to stop this madness. Was that enough?
Not a problem. Stop the madness.
I was at an after-sales conference, and they did a survey, and 60% of the customer survey didn't know that dealerships sold tires.
Oh, that's the problem, guys. The problem is, like I tell you,
60%.
Their bumper comes into play. It's like you got to build a relationship with that customer. I think Russell's talked about it. Relationship is forgotten. How many orphan accounts are there? Guys are like the staff just turns over and over. You just don't know your staff member. You don't know when you sell tires. You don't even know what the going shop rate is, and they don't understand that they can match every tire price that you go with.
That's right.
So many things that just like the sales team fails
That's right.
at the back end, and
right.
and again they get away with it. I don't know how.
I know everybody's in a different place in the dealerships, but you all know that they're starting to think outside the box a little bit. They really are. And we all have different aspects, and some of it bolted together could be an unstoppable. But it's like technology to accelerate momentum and a way of thinking would go really far at the dealership or the automotive group or whatever. But technology to solve something, to solve a problem that they had, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So we got to know who we're talking to. But there's a lot of hand raisers out there. Do you all agree? They're ready. They're hungry for this kind of stuff. But to think that you can set it and forget it, I would run from anybody saying, "Here, this is set it, forget it. You don't have to do a damn thing." There's a human side to all of this, right? And it's building that relationship with that customer, right? That also, it's amazing. Hunters, how many people don't know they sell tires? Incredible. I mean, it is incredible. But if you look at the mover and shakers out there right now, what do you think the main focal point is? Tires.
Yep. Dave, what do you think? Do you think tires are that important, or do you think there's other things there? I mean, obviously 12 years, that's a little shocking to me. What do you think?
Well, tires are definitely a component of that, because if your customer goes anywhere else to get anything, and along that period of time, then they just now have an excuse to drive it in some other form or fashion, right? So I'll go buy my tires from Discount Tires, and then I go to Jiffy Lube, and okay, I can get all these services done. But I think the dealer has a lot to offer that they're just not claiming the value for, right? I mean, how many times do you get promotional things from that, in such a way that, you would experience outside just, the normal dealer flow, which sometimes gets ignored. They just get sometimes overwhelmed with the things that they see, and it's like they tend to ignore those kinds of things. But, I think that the dealers now are rightly, discovering that even though it's fixed ops, there are a lot of fixed components to operations. You're bound by the number of techs you got, the number of service bays that you got.
Sure.
I think that's also bound some of the thinking that they've had about, hey, this is a business in and of itself, and it's got to be able to scale as the business opportunities grow. If you look at it as well, so I've got a fixed amount of resources here. Why should I go out and do these promotional things? Why should I work a little bit harder to make that customer come back? Because my shop is full or relatively full. Then they're just fooling themselves. So they need to put their business hat on as well and think about how could we drive this as an independent. If it were just an independent unit from the variable ops side, how would we drive this and make this a super profitable business? And if you can get them thinking in that sort of mindset, then they're very open to do things, right?
Yeah.
If we go in and work with them to fill up their capacity, then the next question is, well, stop sending me leads. It's, well, how do you build out more capacity? How do you give more? How do you do some of the services that Hunter was talking about, where it's more mobile services or after-hour services and things like that? So with the same fixed capacity, you're still getting more, revenue generation coming off of it. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do besides just provide products, but provide expertise and best practices to help these dealers, kind of deal with kind of the new age.
Fantastic.
One day.
I agree with you 100% there. I mean, when you look at capacity, and I had the opportunity to work with a dealer in Tampa, happened to be a Chrysler Dodge Jeep brand dealer, and they had two shifts. They had a day shift for all their regular work, and then they had a night shift for their diesel work. So they had parts people work until 2, 3 in the morning because they had a lot of commercial vehicles they were servicing. But I believe there's still a dealer in San Francisco that actually runs cycles for the same reason, because they can't expand their footprint. But I think part of it is, if you're not talking to those service customers or even those sales customers that are hoping to be service customers, you're losing them. They're defecting to other brands. But why don't we go with Michelle? She hasn't spoken in a while. What do you think on the service side with longer ownership terms?
My biggest thing too, when I agree with everyone said, my biggest thing is education. A lot of people aren't educating their clients, and for them to actually understand how important it is to do the maintenance. Like for us, for Bumper, we have retention for service, and we're sending emails out to them. Hey, it's time for this to happen to you. We give an extra percentage off, 10% off on their birthdays. You're getting the incentive of them to understand why they need to do it. And honestly, it starts from the very beginning at sales. Unfortunately, with sales, they think that we want to have them have a new vehicle every 4 years. That is what is like, that's what we want. But unfortunately, a lot of people now, they're keeping it for 12 years. So I think it comes down to the very beginning, business offices, extended warranty, paint protection, all these little things that we can do to help protect them, to explain to them this is what they can do to help save their vehicle last longer. So that's where I see it, is it's just about education. And if people actually understand what's going on and how they can save their vehicle, then when we're actually asking them for things, they understand why we're asking them. And they're ready to go for the next thing.
I love it.
Yeah.
Great stuff. You make enough deposits, it's so easy to make withdrawal.
100% agree.
About education, we're talking about the Jiffy Lubes and the third party, and dealerships are actually competing and trying to add and take these customers back, but they don't talk about educating their customers, the dealership versus a Jiffy Lube. The person that's doing that oil change only knows how to do an oil change. It's not a master certified technician. It's not somebody who can look underneath that car and say, hey, that doesn't look right, and put a factory warranty part on that car and put the things that, are going to help keep that vehicle more reliable. And, I think the consumers are blinded by that $19 oil change. I don't know anyone that actually gets a $19 oil change, because they always upsell them to a $69 oil change. They're always doing inspections and adding, products that they probably don't even need, some flush. they're not in the oil change business. They're in the business of adding these additional services. And if you educate the customer on these things and the value and the things that it provides from a safety, reliability, parts thing, we should be winning those customers over. But I think, as you mentioned, we're not doing a good enough job on that. And I think if you educated the customers, like the risk for saving some money on an oil change, it's not worth it to have some guy. I remember being at an oil change one time, being outside, and there's a guy on the top and a guy underneath, and the guy's getting ready to start the engine, not knowing that the guy at the bottom hasn't put the filter on yet, and there's no oil in the car. There's just education that I think could happen, and I think it would overall help.
Well, if you didn't see that post on LinkedIn, I think it was last week, there was a post on LinkedIn. There's a guy, and it was a Jiffy Lube line. There's a guy with a Lamborghini SUV getting his oil change at Jiffy Lube, and I was like, that's such a great combination.
I want to echo on that too about, I love what Michelle said about educating your customers. As part of the vendor community, we teach our dealerships to educate their customers on new technologies that they're bringing on board, especially with AI, but educate your people too. When you're bringing on a product that handles the phones like ours, or simplifies scheduling, things like that, anything with the word AI in it, then as soon as there's a complaint, and let's face it, service is a loveless department. Nobody wants to get their car serviced, okay? But as soon as you implement something like that, we've got to put our arms around our service advisors and our BDC so that they understand how to respond when a customer complains. Oh, I had to talk to that AI, and so they also know how to be consultants, right? Because customers perceive that their advisor is going to try to upsell them. That's their perception. They do it at the Jiffy Lube shop too, but customers don't care then, right? Oh, you need windshield wipers? Sure, why not? But if you do it at the dealership, the customer's automatically like, whoa, I knew you were going to do this. Don't do that. So we have to train our people how to be consultative advisors, not just check the box, move the car through, and let's go. But in order for them to be able to do that, we also have to limit some of those bottlenecks. I don't think service advisors want to do a bad job. They have a hard job. It is it is a loveless department. You are lucky if people are happy to be there. So, I think you just have to wrap your arms around the people who have to deal with our customers and know how to properly communicate what they need in a way that doesn't sound distrustful, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. I know that there's obviously some discussions about different gender and different genders having different experiences in service departments, but I agree with you. And I think when you look at products like UVI, for example, it eliminates a lot of the mystery. Like, this is what's actually going on. I don't know how many pictures are, but this is what's actually going on. Now, still that customer has to make a decision, and you have to have a salesperson, technician knows what they're doing. But also, if I'm going to Jiffy Lube, and to Claudio's point, I believe there's someone changing on one and someone else, versus you go into a dealership and it's a state-of-the-art facility where it's like, wow, like I have all this information on my car immediately. That should justify that retention, but also it creates a better experience. And I've been talking about a customer experience on the show for 6 years, but when you look at that technology integration and making it easier for the customer and the education of the people that deal with that customer, I think that's a game changer. But more importantly, the dealerships that do that in 2025, I think will increase their retention and profitability, which will drive sales. But Claudio, what do you think on the retention connection to sales? That seems to be what we're all sort of going through here.
We're all about relationships. That's what we're trying to do in our with Bumper itself. That is the goal. The goal is from cradle to grave, what I call it, from the day when they buy the car, we follow that customer, because that is where you're going to have that relationship. You're going to have that respect. You're going to earn that respect, if anything. I'll give you a prime example. We have a great tool called Accessories Accelerator. So, customer comes in for tires or comes in for whatever it may be, and it's no tire, and it says no. Right? So I'm not going to do it right now. We'll shop around. So first of all, they don't know that we match tire pricing, which we do that in our communications to help that dealership with that problem. The other problem is they leave. Typically, I'm telling you guys that the guy leaves, he goes to Canadian Tire. We're the Canadian guys. We're Canadian Tire over here, right? So they go there and they do the same and the same tire and probably same tire, same price. What we do is we send by make and model right when they leave. We send them out a coupon, and that coupon is a link to a tire, an accessory catalog of tires, and we can get them back in here to see and let them know the match tire, the match pricing, and you can literally go by make or model, pick your tire, and then you've got an order that goes right to the parts department. Stuff like that is, I guess, technology is being used, but we're also thinking outside the box and making sure it's doing something different to the dealer to bring that customer back to the showroom. And they will. And we find that customers do come back. I got this, so I just left your place. And a couple days later, I got this coupon, and I'm going to save like $15, $20. And that was the difference. So the reason why they came to the dealership rather than going to James Tire.
Fantastic. So, Robert, I had a question. You were talking about tires and expiration. That was something I hadn't heard before. Are the service writers and the customers even aware that's going on?
No one's really aware. I pitched somebody this week, and they said, "What is DOT?" And it's a 12-store group, and it was the fixed ops director. Lots of times, having those discussions, it's really an education process. But again, when we go back, we scan the vehicle, so we know all the build information. But then we're looking right the build dates right on the tire, so we're going to know immediately. And National Highway Safety says 5 years ish after you start the discussion on safety. So we're seeing probably at least 20% of vehicles in OEM drives that are expired or borderline expired.
Wow.
In some other areas, you'll even find it worse. So again, speaking about tires and attribution, as well as we like to work with dealers and ensure that they can be also integrated with dealer tire as well. So it's a resource of having inventory at your hands to be able to do the actual sale of a tire. And again, dealers, once they start getting into the tire business, alignment business more, first off, when that wheel comes off the car, that opens up so many other opportunities where maybe why was that alignment off or other wear with these older vehicles. So, and again, it's a trusted source. So, kind of going back to the UVI process, when that vehicle's scanned, everything's visual. So it's, again, a lot of our service writers say, I'm not sure if you know what you did, but you just actually scanned your car. So it's almost like a third party as well that gave this result with great, we take thousands of imagery and high res photos to really depict that. So again, that trust factor is built, and that's really why the OEMs are partnered with us, because they're looking long term at retention and ensuring that these customers build that trust. And I think it was Ashley that mentioned the whole trust factor, where they put their guard up and say, whoa, I'm just here for, my warranty or my recall, and then I'm going to go down the street. But once they get educated and that trust is built, they really put their guard down. And again, it goes from the building of additional sales on every RO, but that also creates the customer loyalty to actually buy their next car from that dealership as well.
Fantastic.
Robert, that story with the DOT, I love it. Years ago, there's a customer in the showroom, and the same thing happened. I got a great deal on Facebook Marketplace for my tires. The tread is perfect, brand new. Old lady owned the tires, never used them. And the same thing I asked was, did you check the DOT date on it?
Yeah.
They had no clue, right? So they paid $200 a tire. They got a deal for a 14-year-old tire. And they had no idea, because the tire was perfect. The tread was perfect. You see the tire, the trim, the whole thing, the whole nickel thing. You put the perfect tread. The DOT was like almost 11 years old. Just to give you an idea of that tire, how that structure of that tire is done. It's never going to be able to sustain any weather or whatever you're using it for. But they got a deal in their eyes, right? Again, education, right? That's so important.
Yeah. We have Larry here who has a comment, I think. Larry?
Yeah. Larry, no way.
Larry, are you there? Or are you muted again? Larry? I don't know. Anyway.
Note on when we're scanning the sidewall, we're easily picking up damage. But after that 5-year date, besides the date on the tire, we're able to pick up the deterioration of the dry rot on the sidewall as well. So again, that's another visual effect as well with the customer.
That's great.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mr. Larry. I appreciate your joining in. So what is your thought on tires?
I'm hearing a lot of smart things about trust and building. This stuff really starts when you sell the damn car, because most of these dealers aren't smart enough for GMs to make their service walks mandatory. As Shakespeare called it, foreshadowing, where you kind of introduce a character and then he becomes central to the plot. Hey, if we're lucky enough during your business this is where these are the nice folks that are going to be working on your car. It's amazing how people don't understand what we do in our service departments and how friendly some of the people are. So you're getting off on the wrong foot right there. You know,
Great point.
Very, you know, I've known
Yeah,
him for a long time. And Larry's a smart guy. I've known him for a long time. And the same thing, you know, we try to say if we sell a car, we bring our customers back 1,000 kilometers for a on-the-ground inspection. You come back in, report the wheels, give them a car bath, meet your service advisor once again, and let's make sure the sales guys book your first appointment. And I'll tell you guys, our first appointment ratio goes to the roof just by doing that one little thing. And it's like a second delivery at 1,000 kilometers. And it doesn't cost it doesn't cost the customer a thing, and the customers love the dealership. And that's a big step, and nobody does it. So we say it all the time, well, it's going to cost us money. No, yeah, of course it's going to cost you money. But
no, it's going to make you money. It's going to make you money because the biggest problem we have, other than maybe used cars these days, is retention and service. And it's just it's like we get up in the morning and say, what can I do to antagonize and piss off my customers? And I got to admit, we're really good at it. They have to go back there and listen. The hell with just setting up the appointment. Set the appointment up for your customer. Because I'll tell you the truth, I used to walk my customers back. Maybe the service guy doesn't have the same relationship with what I do. So all you're doing is keeping your guy in play, making the dealership money, and giving yourself a chance to sell more cars. So the fact that we're not doing it just shows you how flawed the system is. I mean, I grew up in an era where if you didn't take the guy on the demo ride, I'm not giving you numbers. Why the hell wouldn't the service law be as mandatory, if not more? Since, you know, there's a reason they call variable option fixed. Variable, it can be up and down. The pure profit is in service. And yet we get less attention and there's less money spent back there at advertising. I just not smart enough to figure that out.
100% agree. I remember doing service box back when I sold cars, and one of the dealers had a great idea. They had cardboard cutouts of the service writers after hours so that you could introduce them to them even if they weren't there. So it was like these cardboard cutouts of the people that usually stand there. Okay, here's Tom. He's not here right now, but this is what he looks like. And here's his card if you need to talk to him. I thought that was brilliant. Dave, you had a thought there.
Yeah, I did. Because I just wanted to follow up on
Yeah, go ahead.
Robert Claudio was saying, but this whole trust element is something that, you know, when somebody brings their car in,
right behind
you, kind of expecting to be upsold, and there's a trust element. Is that because it's on spit, or they make a lot of margin on that, or whatever? And what we found out is, you know, dealerships, they often talk in the dealer language. A lot of people don't understand. It's not just a women men kind of thing, but a lot of men aren't people anymore. You know, it's a mode of transportation for them. And so one of the things we do, for example, is we go back out and give the notice to customers after they've declined services and try to explain. This is one of the uses we have for AI, to be able to explain why it is important that you get this fluid flush, or, you know, keeping your windshield wipers clean, because there's a safety element, there's the life of the vehicle, there's, you know, the value of the car at the end of the, you know, if it's live, and et cetera, et cetera. There are good reasons to do this, and we're really successful bringing those people back in. And then once they understand the reason for that, then again, it just establishes that trust that it's just one of the things. There's not one thing a dealer can do to radically change their service business. There's a lot of little things. It's the details. You know, they say, you know, retail is detail, and there's a lot of little things that you can do to just continue to improve that experience. Another example is, I know Claudia was talking about, you know, doing the couponing and things like that. But you can send these out to the customer. But if you think about the dealership service department being a retail store, they put a lock on the door. If you want an appointment, you got to go through hell to get an appointment. You got to, you know, fill out a long form, and it's got a 70% abandon rate to it. So if you create 100 leads, only 30 are going to convert it max.
Yeah.
Because they just give up the process. And so that's one of the things that's really distinguished what we do is we book somebody in just a few minutes. We know who they are. We don't have to ask all those questions because we're integrated with the DMS. We know who they are. So we just make that whole process so much simpler and, you know, advance that process of getting an appointment. And that's the shopping cart for, you know, the service end of the business.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, I love your thing about appointments. The thing that came to my mind is like the dentist. Every dentist appointment I've ever gone to, I have not left without them setting my future appointment. I completely forget about it. And like the day before my appointment, they call and just say, "Hey, I'm confirming that you're coming in tomorrow." And then I like rearrange my schedule last minute and I come in. Yep, we don't do that at the dealership. Like, how many customers are leaving without an appointment? We don't do a good confirmation process. Like, these are little things. Like, even sending out, I don't even know like how many companies send out an iCalendar invite when they set an appointment that I can see it in my calendar and plan my day around it. Like, little things, as Dave was saying, could add up to making a really big impact.
I totally agree, and it's not. And even then, it's not. It doesn't have to be a training issue, or whether you got the time, or whether the service advisor is available. We can do that through automation. These are simple things to do now.
Yeah, I mean, I just had some dentistry work done.
If you're equating a service department to a dental visit, you probably have a future as a sales manager. That's how they look at service.
Yeah, I just went and got some dentistry work done. And not only did they book the appointment, confirm the appointment, call me, text me, they also sent me a survey right after saying, "We really appreciate the business. Can you review our thing?" right afterwards. And I haven't been a dentist in a while, but wow, like they're really up on their game there. I guess they got some competition. But shockingly, we're almost out of time. So what I wanted to do is give everyone an opportunity to talk about the one thing that someone should do to drive growth. So why don't we start with Tim and Mr. Combs? We haven't talked to them in a while. So Tim, what's the one thing that you think dealers can do to drive fixed ops growth in 2025? They had to do one thing.
I guess I was trying to say earlier, Michelle really set up a bit of a storm there when she said about the education system, really triggered us. And so the one thing I guess that I would bring up that we haven't mentioned that we are doing at Missionless, Claudia mentioned the first appointment in any of our dealers that are on their service schedule. That's one thing we mark at the first service appointment, come back at the 1,000-kilometer mark, do the reintroduction, and set up that first service appointment. And then your success rate for your second appointment, it's like 83% or something. The other thing that we have gotten back to that, we talked about things that we used to do that we've gotten away from, was get to know your current mates. So we've just reintroduced that to our dealer body and the dealers that we're dealing with. And we actually have it's one lady that started this, and she has a bunch of ladies that do it.
Yeah.
And gets back to what Ashley was talking about with the trust level. So you bring them back in at the 90-day, and you do that, get to know your current. You get 50 people, you get 30. Some big stores can have. I think we had a big Lexus store in Toronto. She just ran one, and it was I think she had almost 80 people or so. But the customers love it. And one of the big things, and now this is when Robert's going to laugh. Most of them are ex-technicians, and the very thing she shows them is the DOT in the tire, and it's brilliant. And the customers are going, "What?" Like it flattens them, and then she teaches them about rim-centric hubs and stuff like that. And then the dealer staff is there, and she takes them out to the service department, takes the tire off, and it's brilliant because it just takes that customer's level of anxiety down, and then the relationship to the dealership rockets right through the roof. And it's just, so that's my one thing I guess I was going to add to her earlier, but you're asking me now. So
no problem.
And the dealers really love it. They're really responding to it. The customers are responding to it. And it's something that we did 30 years ago, and we just got away from it.
Yeah.
I heard about it. The first time I heard about it was Penske doing it at his store. What was it, Longo Toyota, a massive Toyota store in California he had. And he'd do those VIP nights. That was the first time I heard of it. It was, and then I had somebody I knew witness it, and there used to be 200 people there. It was crazy. You do it every month after all the new car deliveries, and it just skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah. And I know Robert's going to talk about UVI being the one thing, but other than UVI, when they have that technology, what do you think they should do with it?
I think to the point the gentleman just made, the education part's huge, because that brings trust, that brings transparency. But theoretically, it's best practices, action plan. But again, whatever technology they're going to add, they just need to really streamline and become more efficient. And I would say there's a lot of good products on this podcast tonight. including UVI. But again, it's really empowering their team, educating them, and giving them the tech that's going to streamline their business to be more efficient. So again, it's all different levels of efficiency. It's just what will fit best with that organization, I think.
Fantastic. So Hunter, I know recalls are a huge opportunity, being that surprisingly Stellantis dealers have the highest penetration there. But what do you think dealers are missing that they could be doing that one thing in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to say recalls only. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Recalls creates like a unique opportunity, like I mentioned, because the dealership has exclusivity and it doesn't cost anything. The other thing is you actually have the ability to reach out to customers who have previously been opted out or on the do not call list, because safety trumps privacy. So we don't have to deal with TCPA, and this is a way to re-engage with those lost customers.
Yeah.
So it's a very low-hanging fruit. It's about bringing those customers in, and text messaging is really efficient. People like that. But the thing is, even as though we do a great job bringing in these customers for recalls, I still see dealers that do the recall and then let the customer leave. So it's really big is about the inspections or the UVI and turning that person who might not have been in the store for 400, 500 days. You finally get that customer in. Now is that opportunity where you do all those inspections, upsells, set the future appointments, do a trade appraisal. And if they do that and think of it more as a retention tool, it's going to be, a lot of success, and it's just going to help you do everything right. So that's the one thing I would do, apart from taking a screenshot of all the vendors and literally reaching out to each one of us, because we all have some really good products that I think could really help.
Fantastic. Let's go, Dave. What do you think?
Well, if you're limiting me to one thing, I think it's a mind change with the dealerships, and think that this isn't grandpa's dealership anymore. Business is conducted differently today than it was 20, 30 years ago, especially. And so now the way that traditionally people want to engage with the dealer by calling the dealership as an example, it's just not practical anymore. I mean, you don't call Uber and tell them where you're at and give them cross streets to get them to come there. I mean, all this is done on your mobile device, and so this isn't, to me, a gender issue. This is a generational issue. The world is changing. People want a simple engagement, a methodology, regardless of who they're talking with there. And then call and talk to a human when you got a real problem that you're trying to deal with there. So a lot of the things that get pointed to from dealers is all over my phone system. It's just ringing off the wall, and there's not enough people to answer. And how do you answer 24 hours a day? Well, the real issue is further upstream. Starting that engagement really through not just the website, but Google My Business, Apple Maps, all those kind of places where people, congregate these days, and then let that experience run all the way through to, like you said, at the end of the service visit, how was your experience today? And all it has to be is a simple thumbs up or thumbs down, so that the dealer then can react to it. And that's one of the things we provide. But oftentimes dealers are like, oh no, and then people won't fill out the OEM survey, right? And it's like letting the OEM internal kind of factors drive, their relationship with their customers. I think responding to an upset customer is a lot more important than getting a better score from the OEM. Although I understand, the business drivers that make that so.
Yep. Thanks for that. Michelle, and then we have Ashley, Mr. Combs, and then Claudia. So go ahead.
I think the biggest thing for me is, I'm huge on education. But for me, I think it starts from the very beginning. And one thing I think about is when you make that sales call, when you sell that car, the first thing I know that we did as a dealer when I was a salesperson was you invite them saying thanks very much for joining the family. You make them put the customer retention. You make them be a part of your dealership. So what we would do is we do a walkthrough. We'd first go, okay, so let's introduce you to the service department. Go to the service department. Say, hey, here's our service advisors. They're going to be here to help you ask any questions. This is what they're here for. Go to the parts department. Say, hey, this is where you're going to get your tires. You're going to get this. You're going to get this. So they know what's going on. Then at the end, a lot of people, like for us, we had a body shop. We introduced them to the body shop manager. Told them, because the biggest thing I find is a lot of people don't know what dealerships have to offer. So at the very beginning, it's a good way for the dealership to tell them, this is everything they have to offer. This is where you need to go to get your help. And this is where you need to go next. So again, that's where I would start with something to do that's small. And it just comes down to, and the biggest thing is when you sell a car, we all know to get into the finance office, it takes time. Sometimes there's a lineup. So for them just sitting in a chair and doing nothing, why not just, get them in, show them what the dealership has to offer, and next thing you know, they may go and go, oh yeah, we do need that. And then that just starts the whole process of customer retention.
Thanks very much. Ashley.
I think the one thing that dealers could do today, tomorrow, this weekend, is
Let's get some cough drops. That's what I hear. Yeah.
overdose on cough drops. No,
I've got more holes than I ever need. Go ahead.
shop your dealership, right? If you're the dealer or the GM, shop your store secretly. As soon as you walk in, all of your staff is all of a sudden firing on all cylinders. But are they at all times? Again, I don't think that people don't want to do a good job, but you get in the day-to-day and you get in the chaos, and that is what it is. And by the end of the day, you're exhausted. But shop your store. Shop your store from the very first point of entry, which is not at the showroom door or in the service drive. It's on the website. It's amazing how many dealers I talk to and say, do you know how many steps it takes a customer to have to go through to, one, just find where to schedule service? Sorry, that's Duke. And two, to schedule service. You know, you go on a dealership's website and they've set it and forget it. Often they change something and, chaos again. They forget to go back. They might shut down their scheduling capacities for a Wednesday because they know that half their staff is out or it's snowed, and they forget to open back up on Wednesdays for the rest of the year. So go shop your site. See how long it takes you to find the service scheduler, to go through the process of scheduling an appointment. Call your store, not as the general manager. Call your store as a stranger and see what it takes. I was going to piggyback on one thing Hunter said, a recent experience I had. So I own an Infiniti. We all know what's going on with Infiniti, right? I absolutely love my little Infiniti, like to death. And I recently had a major problem where my coolant tank was just emptying every time I drove the car. And I called my dealership, the one I bought my car from, and I had to tell him my VIN number. Do you think I know my VIN number? I don't know my VIN number. I barely know what model I had, but I'm telling him my VIN number. He looks me up and says there's no recall on it, and he recommends that I call a local technician.
Wow.
And I did. And I went to a local technician when they could have had my $1,200 in service. I went to a local technician. So yeah, that's my big recommendation. Shop your store and figure out what's going on the internet, what's going on the phones, and what's going on when people show up to the drive at 8:00 in the morning, unexpected and unannounced. That's it.
Claudio, you got we're a little over time, but you got a minute or so. Go ahead.
Make it real simple. I think with the dealerships today, when I started selling cars, we've had a car coming every 5K. And now they're coming out with 16 and 12K in some cases, some 18. How do you get the customer back in your showroom as often as possible? And that goes back to what we were saying before about that 1,000-kilometer-second visit, that 3-month get to know your car night, your tire season, your recalls. You got to be on top of that stuff because you got to find a way to get them back in the shop. Because otherwise, if they leave and they don't come back for 18,000 kilometers, they don't know who you are. And the reality is, like even at Christmas time, send another coupon for detail your vehicle and offer a stupid, crazy 30% off or something crazy. Let's get them back in here because something else will happen, something else will come from that.
Yeah, one of the best things I ever saw a dealer do is they gave away a free detail every month to one of their customers. They just said, "Come on down, it's on us."
Ian, I'll tell you one thing in service. What I used to do that is an old school. I told my guys, I had a little sticker made up, and you scan the QR code, follow us on Facebook, and if you follow us on Facebook, you get a chance to win your extra oil change for free, next service for free. Everybody follows on Facebook. That allowed me to market it for free at Facebook when I wanted to, and no dealers are doing that. It's a big problem.
Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you next week, next Friday. The topic's already up. And have yourself a great day. Remember to send me a mailing address for the people on the show. I'll send you either a hat when I get them or shirts if I have some left at no cost to you. Thanks again. Have a great weekend. I used to have ceramic coffee cups. They cost more to ship than they're worth, and they break about 80% of the time. So I don't do that no more. But maybe next time. All right. Have a good night. All right. Bye.